T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
Chris, this shit's fun.
T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
Chris, this shit's fun.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of JT Sports Live. I'm your host, JT, here with a late night edition, JT Sports After Dark, man. I'm glad that all of you guys are tuned in wherever you're watching, YouTube, X. Wanted to come on here and give my thoughts on the Saturday NFL preseason week 1 slate. We're going to be discussing all of the first-round rookie quarterback debuts from Michael Penix on Friday, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, Brandon Aiyuk. We are starting to reach the conclusion of the saga between him and the 49ers. He has two options. Justin Fields, he also made his unofficial debut for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's been a lot of mixed receptions to his first start in the black and gold. We're going to break that down as well. I got takeaways from the Raiders versus Vikings, Commanders versus Jets preseason games as well. Before we dive into it all, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Remember that wherever you listen to your podcast from, you can find the audio version of the JT Sports Podcast and JT Sports Live on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. If you have a question that you would like answered on our mailbag, you can send them in the DMs on Instagram at JT Sports _ and on X at JT Sports __. Are y'all excited, man? Football is finally back. And I said this a few days ago. I don't give a damn if it's the preseason and it doesn't count. It counts to me, damn it. And I'm so happy that I've had the blessing of being able to spend my Saturday afternoon watching all these preseason games and being able to come on here tonight and talk about them. So I'm just happy that we got football back, man. If you're happy that we got NFL action, college football is just around the corner, smash that like button, retweet, share the stream wherever you're at, man, because there's a lot of people that probably want to hear some football talk that don't know about the JT Sports Podcast. So share the word. And before we begin, here's a quick word from our sponsor. In football, we all know that no quarterback can win without good protection up front. It's also important that you protect yourself from data brokers who sell your personal information online to scammers, spammers, and anybody else who may want to target you. That's why you should use Aura, today's sponsor of this episode. Aura shows which data brokers are passing away your information on the internet and automatically submits opt-out requests on your behalf. Go to aura.com/JT Sports in description or pin comment down below to get a 14-day free trial and protect your personal information from being exposed online. Cleaning up your information online not only helps reduce the amount of spam you receive, but it also protects you from hackers who could use this info to help gain access into your social media accounts, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. Go to our sponsor, aura.com/JT Sports in description or pin comment down below to gain access to your 14-day free trial and protect yourself from hackers looking to gain access into your sensitive information online. All right, everyone, let's dive into the show. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to my guy, M Sparks. He says, "Sup, JT, Pittsburgh Steeler for life." Absolutely, man. So I don't know how many of y'all are like me and you're just tired of the Brandon Aiyuk drama, but it seems like he finally is about to make a decision with what he wants to do with his future. And according to reports, he has two options. He can either stay and play this last season with the 49ers and maybe they can come to terms on a long-term deal, or he can decide to accept the trade to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he already denied trades to the New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns. If I was the 49ers, I would have said, screw what you want to do, Brandon Aiyuk. We're going to trade you to Cleveland, get that draft capital, and get Amari Cooper in return. But the 49ers, being the good organization that they are actually listening to Brandon Aiyuk, and they're trying to do right by him, which is really commendable on the behalf of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, because most teams would have just traded Aiyuk to whoever gave them the best deal, and that would have been the end of it. Brandon Aiyuk, to me, his best choice would be accepting to get traded to Pittsburgh. You would have one of the better wide receiver duos with him and George Pickens. You do have concerns at quarterback. Who's going to be starting? Is it going to be Russ or Justin Fields? And how good is the quarterback play going to be? But the Steelers are one of those franchises that they always have a knack for finding great wide receivers. And a big question that many are wondering is, why the hell would Brandon Aiyuk deny a trade for the Browns and the Patriots, But he wants to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers where you don't know how good the quarterback play is going to be. And plus, they're not really a team that offensively is as good as what the 49ers have been the last couple of years. And plus, they're nowhere close to winning a Super Bowl. The reasoning for Aiyuk wanting to be a Pittsburgh Steeler potentially is because of Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is probably the most likable coach in the league. Players love to play for him. The players that he goes up against always have a lot of great things to say about him. And the Steelers have a player-friendly environment where a guy like Brandon Aiyuk can be himself and he can be embraced by his teammates. So it makes a lot of sense why Brandon Aiyuk would want to play for one of the best organizations, not just in the NFL, but in sports in general, and playing under Mike Tomlin, who's a great motivator. He knows how to speak to the soul of his players, and he always gets the most out of them. But if Brandon Aiyuk is actually trying to win and get paid, he probably would be better off staying in San Francisco. It seems like Brandon Aiyuk is in a situation where he wants to get his cake and eat it too. I thought he just wanted to go to whoever was going to give him the most money, which New England was going to make him one of the 5 highest paid receivers in the league. He said, nah, I don't want to go to Foxborough. He also denied Cleveland. So at this point, if you really want to win and get paid, San Francisco offers you the best chance to get the best of both worlds. But Pittsburgh, you're not going to be a loser if you go to the Steelers. The Steelers are most definitely going to be in contention to get a wild card spot. And depending on how good the quarterback play is, you may be able to win a playoff game, get to the second round. And long term, if the Steelers can find a long-term solution to their quarterback problem, they definitely are a team that could give Brandon Aiyuk the opportunity to compete for a Lombardi. Now, how much are they willing to pay Aiyuk? I'm guessing that it's probably going to be $32.5 million a year or somewhere along that range, because he's not one of those wideouts that is worth top market value. He's not a Justin Jefferson or a CeeDee Lamb, but he's a tier below that. Pittsburgh, they have the cap space. They don't have to invest too much into the quarterback position for the next couple of years. This is a good opportunity for General Manager Amar Khan to make a blockbuster trade, to get a superstar. And when you bring in a proven number one like Aiyuk, it helps whoever's going to be starting underneath center for you at quarterback this year. George Pickens is one of the best 50-50 ball wide receivers that we have in the league. You pair him up with Brandon Aiyuk, who's one of the best route runners in the NFL, he's going to be a major upgrade from what the Steelers had from Deontay Johnson. And Deontay Johnson is kind of a diet version of Brandon Aiyuk. He's a really crafty route runner, but has way worse hands than what Aiyuk possesses. And Aiyuk is an upgrade from Deontay in terms of what you're going to get from the run blocking standpoint, which the Steelers want to stamp, having an effective rushing attack. And to do that, you got to have receivers that are willing to do the dirty work in blocking. Brandon Aiyuk is one of those guys coming from a Kyle Shanahan system. You know that he's always going to be a good run blocker for you. This would be a fantastic trade if the Steelers can convince Brandon Aiyuk to come play for the black and gold, and it would be a devastating loss for San Francisco. Keeping Aiyuk for at least this year gives you the best opportunity to win it all potentially again, because we saw you come up short last year against Kansas City. Ricky Pearsall is a stud. I love him a lot, but he's not going to give you in his rookie season what you could potentially get this year out of Brandon Aiyuk, potentially around 1,200, 1,300 receiving yards. Ricky Pearsall may only give you 800, 900. So in the 49ers' eyes, you just want to get this over with. You don't want to keep somebody who doesn't want to be there if you're not going to pay him, which it would make sense for them just to give him away to Pittsburgh and try to get what they can get for him. But honestly, with them trying to do right by Aiyuk, they really missed a good opportunity to get a really fair trade. I don't think you're going to come away with everything that you would want if you trade Aiyuk to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unless you get George Pickens somehow in that trade, then that would be a steal. But for Brandon Aiyuk, this is a win-win scenario. And like I told a lot of you 49ers fans a few months ago, Aiyuk had all the control in this situation. You know what his leverage was? It was, I can come, show up to training camp, be an asshole, and be a distraction to the point where you got no choice to either give me what I want, get the money that I want, or you trade me to the team of my choosing. So this is what I was saying to all the 49ers fans that said I didn't know ball, where they believe that they had all the leverage in this situation, and now look how everything is starting to play out. This is a new generation of players that are in the NFL now. They are around my age. And one thing about it, when it comes to the 20-year-olds in the league now, they're more willing to go to the extreme if they don't get their way compared to the older group of players that used to be in the league where, you know, they didn't get what they were asking for. Contract negotiations broke down. They didn't throw no temper tantrum. They didn't pout. They just went on the field and let their play do all the talking. It's not like that anymore. Now, if a player can't get paid, they either want to get traded or they're just going to act out until they get what they want. So overall, I'm hoping as a Steeler fan, being biased, that Aiyuk says I want to be in Pittsburgh and the 49ers go through with the trade. But if he stays in San Fran, it's understandable. If they can come to an agreement somewhere in the middle of what he's asking for and what the 49ers feel is fair, he'll get paid what he somewhat is asking for, and he'll have the best opportunity to win as well. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. We got 153 total viewers combined on YouTube and X. Shout out to everybody that's listening. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe, follow, share the live stream, and check out our podcast. The audio version of this episode will be immediately uploaded after this live concludes. You can listen to the playback on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and give us a 5-star review if you enjoy. Now, there were several first-round rookie quarterbacks that made their unofficial NFL debuts. Michael Penix Friday for the Atlanta Falcons against Miami. Jaden Daniels against the Jets. Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy also made their debuts as well. And I'm going to be talking about their performances one by one, telling you guys what I liked, what I disliked about how they played, and what I'm looking forward to seeing out of them as we progress throughout the preseason and inch towards the regular season. We're going to start off with Michael Penix. Michael Penix made his unofficial NFL debut in the Falcons preseason opener against the Miami Dolphins, and he played exactly how you thought he would have. He was insanely accurate, throwing the ball outside of the numbers. Anytime he took a shot deep, either it resulted in a big play happening, or you look back at it and you say, man, if the wide receiver would have kept running, or if he didn't drop it, that would have been another dime. Penix, I was really impressed with how good he was at throwing guys open at Washington. He threw with great anticipation. It's like as soon as the wide receiver got done making a break on his route, the ball was there. And you see the same thing in the NFL with his great timing. And what's really surprising is that when you're in the preseason, you don't expect to be that accurate as a quarterback, because a lot of the guys that you're throwing to are second and third string guys. Most of them are going to be on the practice squad, and it's really hard to get good timing and chemistry down when you're just playing with randoms at wide receiver. But the fact that Michael Penix was as accurate as what we saw Friday night against the Dolphins shows you just how well he's able to play within structure. He is really smooth. There's no wasted motion with Michael Penix. You know, this dude, when he drops back, is with a sense of urgency. He's looking to get the ball out fast, and he's looking to do so before the wide receiver gets done finishing his route. And his anticipation and timing is why I was really high on him coming out of UW, because those are two really important traits that you gotta have to succeed at the NFL level. You don't have a lot of time to sit back there all day and find open wide receivers, and a lot of the windows are really small, so you have to kind of anticipate when guys are going to break on the out route or when guys are going to make that cut on that slant route, so you can get the ball ahead of time to them and not hold the ball longer than need be. Now, some of his incompletions to me were on the receivers. Some of the receivers, like there was one pass that he threw in the red zone where he got absolutely obliterated. There was an open rusher who just came and let the wood down on Michael Penix, but yet he still threw a really catchable ball. The receiver just kind of gave up on the route. Now, there were some throws where there was an out route that he threw a little bit too late. There still are some things that he needs to clean up, but overall, that 9-16 stat line is really misleading because I really believe that he went 13-16. Some of those were drops. Some of those the receivers just gave up. If this was the complete first-team offense with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, Michael Penix would have had a fantastic debut in the stat sheet department. But when you watch this game with the eye test, it's definitely understandable why Atlanta ended up reaching for him where they did. The next 2-3 years, if he does end up being the next Jordan Love, the Falcons are going to be in prime position to win it all. Because let's say, everything goes as planned. Kirk Cousins can stay healthy, play out his contract. When Michael Penix comes in, you give him 2-3 years potentially to sit and learn with how good he already is. He'll come out the gate and have an MVP season year one. That's the full-time starter in Atlanta. And by that point, you would think that the Falcons will have their team good enough to where Michael Penix, you fill him in, and that immediately is what makes you a Super Bowl contender. Was really impressed with how Michael Penix played in his debut, the Falcons preseason opener against Miami. Now, Jayden Daniels, he was the second quarterback off the board in this past year's draft, right behind Caleb Williams. He made his unofficial debut for the Commanders in their preseason opener against the New York Jets. And although he only played one series, he drove the Commanders right down the field with ease. Like his second pass was a big 40-something yard completion, beautifully thrown down the sidelines. And that was a big strength that Jayden Daniels had when he was coming out of LSU. If you watched him last year when he won the Heisman, there weren't too many quarterbacks in the nation last year that threw a more accurate deep ball than what Jayden Daniels did, especially outside the numbers. Him and Michael Penix probably throw two of the best deep balls that I've seen in recent memory from quarterback prospects. And I would have loved to see Jayden at least have gotten one more drive, because it's just like, damn, it's like you drove them down the field, you cap it off with a 3-yard rushing touchdown. You would have loved to see at least a little bit more just to solidify what you thought. But Jayden Daniels, in this one drive, if he carries this momentum throughout the rest of the preseason into the regular season, Washington most definitely could be a sleeper team that could go from worst to first in their division. You would expect their defense to be pretty good, and they got a pretty good group of pass catchers around Jayden Daniels. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Ben Sinnott, he was really good in this game, who's a rookie tight end that they drafted out of Kansas State in this draft class. With how dynamic Jayden Daniels is running with the football, there's a lot of creativity that the Commanders can have offensively with how good their running back position is going to be. Brian Robinson, I love this dude's game a lot. And with Jayden Daniels in the same backfield as him, it brings a different element to your offense that defenses are going to have to game plan for. Even if there isn't that much tape out for Jayden Daniels, you're not just finna go into week one if you're a defensive coordinator going up against Washington and say, yeah, Jayden Daniels is going to have to show me. That's a stupid recipe to get you an L, because Jayden Daniels, I don't expect this brother to struggle this year. If anything, he's going to be up and down. You're going to have some good games. You're going to have some bad games where he has some good, but he also has some bad. Maybe he has some turnover heavy games. Maybe he becomes a little bit sloppy with taking care of the football, puts the ball on the ground a couple of times. But from a skill set standpoint, Jaden Daniels is everything that you look for in today's era of what it means to be a true dual threat quarterback. I mean, if this dude has green grass in front of him, he's a threat to take it to the house every time. My concern with Jaden Daniels just has been how consistent can he play within the structure of our offense. We didn't really get to see that against the New York Jets this afternoon because he only played one series. Is he going to be consistent with going through his progressions, not locking on to one guy like how he had the tendency to do last year? But overall, although we got a really small sample size of Jaden Daniels, you have to love what you saw from him if you're a Commanders fan. And I was really impressed with how big he looked in this game. I don't know if y'all peeped this, but Jaden Daniels put on some weight. That boy been in the weight room. He been packing on those pounds because last year at LSU, this dude just looked like a straight up toothpick. And that was another concern that I had about Jaden Daniels. With how skinny he looked coming out of college and how many big hits he took. I remember watching the first couple of plays against Ole Miss. The dude got hit stick, fumbled, and it resulted in being a scoop and score. Well, this dude, he's been bulking up, and that's really good, especially if they intend to run him a good amount this year. But Jaden Daniels had a really good debut for the Commanders in their game against the New York Jets, man. It was one drive which kind of irritated me. I'm like, damn, this brother going off. Don't take him out yet. At least let us get one more drive to see what he can do, man. One more drive. If he can lead them to another touchdown drive, you got me sold. So I'm definitely going to be tuned in to whoever the Commanders play next week in the preseason because I got to see some more Jaden Daniels. This brother was really impressive. First drive, you lead them to a touchdown. That you couldn't script that any better if you were Cliff Kingsbury, who is Washington's offensive coordinator. Caleb Williams made his unofficial NFL debut in the Chicago Bears preseason opener against the Bills. And let me tell y'all something. Caleb Williams, for the amount of hate that he has received this offseason, being labeled the next big bust, he made y'all eat y'all words after how he played this afternoon, man. He looked a lot like Patrick Mahomes. He was doing some Mahomey things out there. He was making some crazy ass throws. Like there was one play where he had two defenders in his face. He flips the ball. I don't know how the hell he did it, but he flipped the ball to DeAndre Swift. Next thing you know, DeAndre Swift is down the sideline, turning on the afterburners. And then he threw another dot when he was rolling to his right on the sideline to Roma Dunze. And this was exactly what you thought Caleb Williams would be when he was coming out of USC. A lot of the stuff that he did in college, he was doing in this game, man. He was invading rushers, not with his mobility, but really with his pocket presence, man. He was stepping up in the pocket, making guys miss. And then he also had a nice little 13-yard run where you also see the athleticism on display as well. But his accuracy, his ability to throw absolute dots on the run is something that I've only seen two quarterbacks in my lifetime watching football be able to do. Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. And when you listen to Caleb Williams do interviews or press conferences, anytime they ask him what were the quarterbacks who he looked up to, who he modeled his game after, he always mentions Aaron Rodgers. And I saw a lot of glimpses of that Aaron Rodgers influence in his game in their preseason opener against Buffalo, man. 4-7, 95 yards. You would have loved for him to cap it off with a touchdown, but I was really amazed watching Caleb Williams. And if we're just going based off this first preseason performance, I felt like I was watching the second coming of Patrick Mahomes out there. He definitely played as good as advertised. He look like what you thought he would have looked like. A refined, more tuned Patrick Mahomes compared to what Patrick Mahomes was coming out of Texas Tech. He is nothing close to what Caleb Williams is. I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is better than Patrick Mahomes right now. What I'm saying is that Caleb Williams is going to have a lot better of a rookie season than what Mahomes did, not because he was on the bench, but because he's just way more refined with his playing style. Now, you want to see him keep this consistency up because he was only doing this against second stringers and backups. Buffalo had a couple of starters in there. Once you get to the regular season, the game is going to be sped up times 100. But for all the shit that people been talking about Caleb Williams, I was really impressed with how this brother balled out today, man. Some of those throws that he was making was absolutely insanity. He was making throws that you would make on college football 25 or Madden, when he's getting outside the pocket. He's throwing from these crazy arm angles. If you are hating on Caleb Williams, I got one question for you. Why? Why? There is no reason to hate on this dude. He hasn't even played a regular season game, and he's already one of the league's most overhated players for no reason at all. What? You don't like him because of the reports about him coming out of college that were not true? Like, there hasn't been a single red flag about Caleb Williams' character that anybody has brought up with the Chicago Bears. As a matter of fact, I seen a report not too long ago where, he had to get his teammates in line and say, hey, man, like, pick up after yourselves. Y'all grown men. Don't leave y'all trash for the custodians and the janitors to have to pick it up. I mean, this brother was really good with how he played against the Buffalo Bills, man. He was looking like Houdini out there. I was like, okay, Caleb Williams, I see you out there. I see you. Like, come on, man. If you are hating on Caleb Williams, you gotta stop it. This is not the kind of hate train that you want to die on, man, because he could very well have the greatest rookie season that we've ever seen out of a first-year QB, and he could give the Chicago Bears the best quarterback play that they've ever had in franchise history, and only his rookie season, because they've never had a quarterback throw for more than 4,000 yards in a season. Caleb Williams is definitely good enough to be able to change that and break their single-season passing yardage record only in year one. And under Shane Waldron, you got to remember, this was the same guy who was the offensive coordinator for several years when Russell Wilson was still in Seattle. And Russell Wilson has a really similar skill set to Caleb Williams. The only difference is that Caleb Williams is better at maneuvering inside the pocket than what Russell Wilson is. Even at this stage of Russ's career, I really believe Caleb Williams is already a better pocket passer. So, let me know how you guys feel about Caleb Williams' rookie debut. Now, J.J. McCarthy made his unofficial NFL debut, and he shocked me, just completely exceeded my expectations against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, he did throw an interception to Jack Jones when he was rolling outside the pocket, and Jack Jones came across and undercut the route. But other than that, I mean, J.J. McCarthy was putting on an absolute clinic this afternoon. And anytime J.J. McCarthy is operating inside of the pocket, he is poetry in motion. When he can take a three-step or five-step drop back and just step up and let it rip, he throws some absolute dimes. And he has a really tight and compact throwing motion. He kind of has a throwing motion similar to what you would see out of an MLB fast pitch pitcher. When that ball comes out, it comes out fast. It's a beautifully thrown tight spiral, and he's really accurate, especially when it comes to throwing the deep ball downfield. During this game in the third quarter, where he started to really get in sync, he threw 2 touchdowns. They also had Justin Jefferson mic'd up on the sideline. And one of the announcers asked Jay Jettas, if you were calling plays, what would you dial up for J.J. McCarthy to maximize his talent? He was said deep balls. And I mean, this dude was throwing some dots downfield with precision. And I think where J.J. McCarthy gets himself in trouble is where he's trying to improvise, he's trying to create, trying to make throws off platform. That's not the strength of his game. The strength of his game is by getting the snap, dropping back, and throwing from within the pocket. Now, he does have a lot of athleticism where you can get creative if you're Kevin O'Connell, come up with some design quarterback runs, QB powers, some zone reads and whatnot. But he's not one of those quarterbacks that does good throwing on the run like a Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels. When he gets outside the pocket, he pretty much needs to tuck and run with the ball because either his decision making isn't that great when he's outside the pocket, or he doesn't have the same level of accuracy as he would within the pocket. But I mean, this dude was absolutely ripping that thing this afternoon. He finished the game against Las Vegas 11-17 with 2 touchdowns, 188 passing yards, only 1 interception. Sam Darnold, he only played 1 drive this game, and he did put them in scoring position, but this quarterback battle is far from being decided. Because after how well J.J. McCarthy played, Kevin O'Connell, you couldn't go wrong starting J.J. McCarthy week 1. I really think that he could become an insanely good system quarterback. And I don't say that J.J. McCarthy is going to become a really good system quarterback to demean him. I say that in a really good way. Because unlike Brock Purdy, the criticism with Purdy is that he doesn't have a great arm. He's not that good of an athlete. He just throws with good accuracy and anticipation. J.J. McCarthy, though, he's one of those QBs that not only does he execute the offense to perfection, but he also has one of the strongest arms in the league. You know, it's not on Mahomes or Josh Allen level, but he can make consistent throws in tight windows against tight man-to-man coverage with ease. And he also throws the ball insanely well inside of the numbers. And that's what really surprised me so much about J.J. McCarthy, because at Michigan, we know the dude was a winner, but we didn't know just how much he had a role in Michigan's run to the national championship, because they ran the ball so much, they only asked him to be a game manager. But remember, anytime Michigan needed him to step up and make big plays, make big throws, he always delivered. And you saw a lot of the reasons for why so many NFL talent evaluators were high on J.J. McCarthy versus me and you as fans kind of being heavily skeptical of J.J. McCarthy. But I mean, this dude looked insanely accurate inside the pocket. And in the NFL, games are still won and lost based off how effective your quarterback can be, dropping back, stepping up, and throwing the ball from within the pocket. As flashy as what Caleb Williams is, we still need to see more from him being able to deliver accurate passes consistently under pressure with the pocket collapsing. J.J. McCarthy, he may be probably the best rookie quarterback at throwing under pressure with guys in his face, because there were a few times when he got absolutely clobbered and he was still dropping dimes in the bucket downfield. I mean, I was really shocked with how efficient and effective McCarthy looked, especially in the third quarter. It seemed like after halftime, the nerves kind of left him. He was more settled in, and that's when he played his best football. Really fantastic outing that J.J. McCarthy had in his unofficial debut. Before we move on, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're listening on YouTube, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content and go live. If you're listening on X, give us a follow if you haven't already. Like and share the stream with your friends, family members, and acquaintances. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Shout out to my guy, Talk His Pit. He says, I'm a Green Bay fan. That's why I hate him. Let's segue to this. Justin Fields made his unofficial debut in the black and gold, and there are many split opinions about how he performed in the Steelers preseason opener against the Texans. To me, he played really well. He went 5 or 6, 67 passing yards. He was really accurate. He was hitting wide receivers in stride. His best throw of the night was to Van Jefferson. And he also had a couple of passes that he threw quickly to George Pickens. So it looks like Justin Fields is getting better at getting the ball out fast. But he still had a good amount of plays that showed you why Chicago replaced him for Caleb Williams, because he still had 2 big sacks that he took, not getting the ball out fast enough. There was an out route that should have been challenged by Mike Tomlin because it was a completion, but you would have liked for him to get the ball out of his hands a lot faster than what he did. And, there was another sack that he had when he just tried to get outside the pocket but just ran into a guy. So the pocket presence still is a work in progress. But I don't think Justin Fields struggled. He did have 2 fumble snaps, but I don't think that was on Justin. I put that more on Nate Herberg than I do Justin Fields, because Nate Herberg isn't even a center. And if Nate Herberg is your backup option at center, you need to go sign somebody in free agency, because that's not his position. And in the preseason, when you are dealing with these mismatched offensive line lineups, you got second stringers playing with third stringers, and you got guys out of position. This isn't nothing that you wouldn't expect. If you're Justin Fields and you've been working with the starting and second string center, then all of a sudden you have the guy snapping the ball that's out of position that normally plays guard, of course you're going to have some problems with the snap. You're going to have a couple of botches, but I can't completely put that all on Justin Fields. Mainly I'm looking at how well he threw the football, because once we get to the regular season, the number of botched snaps that you're going to have is going to be fairly low with you having the actual starting center there. And when they had the guy out of West Virginia there at center, you didn't see no more botched snaps. Justin Fields, right now, he still is the backup QB behind Russell Wilson in my eyes, only because Mike Tomlin still is pretty set in stone on Russ being the starter, getting the opportunity to show what he can do in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith and just in the new situation compared to what he was in Denver. But we also have to take into account that it's easy to criticize Justin Fields and say that he shouldn't be the starter when we have yet to see Russell Wilson take a single snap of preseason action. And I don't think Russ is really that good. And I really believe that with the reports that have come out of training camp about Justin Fields, he's going to prove to be the better quarterback. Now, Russ didn't play in this matchup because he still is nursing that calf injury that has sidelined him for the last couple of practices. He did want to play in this preseason game, so we will definitely see him next week. But right now, Justin Fields, I don't see the gap between him and Russell Wilson being that wide. If anything, they're right on par with each other. It's just easy to be negative about Justin Fields because that's the only dude we really saw out there who was part of this competition. But if we were to see Russell Wilson out there, it's pretty hard to start 5 of 5. I don't care if it's the preseason or the regular season. In the preseason, for you to complete your first 5 passes was really impressive. And he was dishing the ball out. He was getting out fast to George Pickens. He had one screen pass that he threw to Najee Harris, the first drive where he could have damn near got his head taken off, but he threw the ball, adjusting his arm angle. It was a really nice pass, and it was a good job of Justin Fields turning what could have been a negative play into a positive play. And last year, you didn't really get too many of those situations because of Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, and Kenny Pickett just not having that kind of arm talent. Justin Fields, to me, with his athleticism, what he can do running the football, being one of the greatest dual threat quarterbacks in the history of this game statistically, he brings a different element to the Steelers offense that you don't get with Russ. If you start Justin, you could potentially have a top 5 rushing attack this year. And even if he isn't that good throwing the football, he does have a tendency to hold it a little bit late than what you would want. the offensive line, if it truly is improved, then he should have way more time to find open wide receivers. But what I love about Justin so much is that it's really hard to have a lot of negative plays with him at quarterback, just with how damn gifted he is as an athlete. Not only is he hard to bring down, but he's not the easiest guy that you want to try to tackle in the open field, because he can flat out embarrass you. So I was really impressed with what I saw out of Justin Fields against the Houston Texans week 1 of the preseason. I don't really get the criticisms that people have about him. I don't put the fumble snaps on him. I really put that on the center. That's what you get when you got guys playing out of position. You could have had this same center, Nate Herberg, doing good in practice and training camp, but once you get into an actual in-game situation, things can end up going a lot differently, and some guys just aren't meant to play center. So I'm not going to put the 2 fumble snaps on him completely. I thought he looked really impressive for the small amount of time that he was out there. Now, before we get up on out of here, we still got a lot more things that we got to touch on. I got to give you guys my takeaways from the few preseason games that I watched in their entirety. The Raiders, the Vikings, and the New York Jets and Washington Commanders. I got some thoughts. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to my guy, Timothy Frith. He says, well, the 49ers. No, Brandon Aiyuk is not going to the Packers. At this point, he either has to choose to remain a 49er at least for this season or get traded to Pittsburgh. The Packers have not been in trade talks. Brandon Aiyuk has turned down every single team. He only wants to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or a 49er at this point. But I appreciate you for jumping in the chat, my guy, Timothy Frith. Shout out to everybody that's listening on X. We got 332 total viewers on the live. Thank you to everybody that is choosing to spend their Saturday night listening to me, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now. You could be out in the club right now. So I'm really grateful for everybody that's tuned in tonight. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out the podcast. You can listen to this in audio format on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. Okay, so I got some takeaways from the Raiders versus Vikings preseason game. We're going to start off with the Minnesota Vikings. My biggest takeaway from the Vikings week 1 preseason win over the Raiders was, first of all, they have a serious problem in their secondary, man. Their defense and the back end was getting absolutely lit up by Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. And Mekhi Blackton, we already know that he suffered an ACL injury a few weeks ago. He's out for the season. Kyrie Jackson, unfortunately, passed away. Rest in peace to him. And that leaves the Vikings with a major hole at corner. Now, there's a report circulating around that they are going to be bringing in Stephon Gilmore on a visit on Monday. And, you know, with how bad that cornerback position looked in this preseason game against Las Vegas, it's understandable why they're bringing in some added reinforcements. But their pass rush looked really good. Their first round pick out of Alabama, Dallas Turner, he was absolutely terrorizing the Las Vegas Raiders left tackle, which I believe was Andrews Pete. He had 2 quarterback pressures. He also had a big sack as well. Their defensive line is going to be the big focal point of their defense, because a good way you can counteract not having good secondary play is if you have a pass rush that doesn't give the quarterback a lot of time to throw the football, which helps out your secondary because they don't have to be in coverage for that long. But they got to find a way to figure out the solution to their struggling secondary, because their secondary also struggled last preseason. And I get it's the regular season. Some of the guys that were in this game probably aren't going to be starters come week 1, but you already have concerns with your starters, and now you don't have any depth as well. So if one of your starting cornerbacks goes down, you're going to have some major problems stopping the pass this year if your pass rush ends up going up against a good offensive line. Now, positive that I have for the Vikings from this preseason game is that they're really deep at wide receiver. They're like 3-6 guys deep at that position. You got Jalen Naylor, who right now is in competition for Brandon Paul for the wide receiver 3 spot. He was getting open damn near every play. He had 3 receptions for 63 receiving yards. Tristan Jackson had 100 receiving yards. He had 4 catches as well. He was pretty impressive. And Trent Sheffield, he caught J.J. McCarthy's second, third quarter touchdown. So there's a lot of talent that the Vikings have at wide receiver. They got guys that are really savvy route runners, but they're really explosive. They got a lot of speed. Plenty of guys that can take the top off the defense, which votes well with J.J. McCarthy's skill set. Because if you're Kevin O'Connell and you do throw J.J. McCarthy out there week 1, you feel he's ready, you definitely do have a good enough supporting cast that should make life easier for J.J. McCarthy as he eases and gets more comfortable with the speed of the game that he's going to be facing in the regular season. Now, moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders. My biggest takeaways from the Raiders preseason loss to Minnesota, obviously we got to talk about the quarterback battle. Who is currently the leader to be the starting quarterback for the Raiders this year after their preseason opener against the Minnesota Vikings? Aiden O'Connell, he played only 1 drive, but he was really impressive. He did a good job playing in rhythm, getting the ball out fast. And when you can get Aiden O'Connell going early, he normally ends up having a really good game. Remember that Thursday night showing last year when he absolutely went scorched earth against the Chargers and threw 4 touchdowns in that game? He got out to a fast start early in that matchup. And when you can get him in rhythm, he's one of those rhythmatic passers where once he gets going, once he gets hot, he can throw guys open. He can get the ball out fast. He went 7-9, 76 passing yards. My only thing with Aiden O'Connell is that you wish he would be more aggressive and pushing the football downfield because he's really conservative. I don't know if he just doesn't trust his arm or if he just isn't somebody that likes taking a lot of opportunities downfield. But Gardner Minshew is completely opposite to what Aiden O'Connell is. You see, Aiden O'Connell, when he was in underneath center, everything was smooth. But with Gardner Minshew, he was way more aggressive. There was way more chaos when he came in the game. And he got way more reps than what Aiden O'Connell got, which was really surprising to me because if this is supposed to be a quarterback battle, then you would like to see both of these guys get the same amount of plays in the preseason. But Gardner Minshew, he threw a touchdown. He was more aggressive, pushing the football vertically. And he did throw his typical hospital balls that he normally throws, which there was a play that he was throwing an out route to a tight end, and the tight end caught it and got automatically put on his ASS by a Vikings defender. And Gardner Minshew did a poor job of, helping out his target because normally as a quarterback, you shouldn't throw a pass if you know a defender's going to be right there to smash your wide receiver. Gardner Minshew, every game he plays, he normally throws 1 or 2 passes that ends up getting the wide receiver fucked up. And we saw that twice in this game. And he wasn't as smooth as what Aiden O'Connell was. He was more chaotic. There were some passes that he threw that should have been intercepted. He was holding the ball a little bit longer to try to get those big shots downfield. But he had a really good connection with number 11. I believe his name is Trey Tucker. This dude was absolutely burning everybody in Minnesota secondary, man. Him and Trey Tucker, if Gardner Minshew ends up starting this year, they could end up having a lot of big plays because for some reason, anytime he wanted to go downfield deep, he was looking for Trey Tucker. And what you see out of Gardner Minshew in terms of his aggressiveness, throwing the football vertically, is what you would like to see more of out of Aiden O'Connell. But overall, in terms of who I feel is leading the Raiders' battle to be QB1, it has to be Aiden O'Connell because I don't think if you're Antonio Pierce, you would only play O'Connell for 1 drive if you weren't convinced that right now he's the best of the 2 QBs. Because normally with these QB battles, you'll rotate these dudes, you'll give them at least 3-4 drives, and then you'll evaluate them from there. But if Aiden O'Connell only gets one drive, to me that obviously is a signal that, hey, he doesn't really have too much to prove. We like what we saw that first drive. We can take him out and let Gardner Minshew get more of the reps. Aiden O'Connell, to me, with the style that the Raiders want to win games this year, heavily relying on great defense and a strong rushing attack, his skill set, the way he plays the quarterback position, benefits Las Vegas more if he starts than Gardner Minshew. Because with Gardner Minshew, he takes way too many risks. And with Antonio Pierce being a defensive-minded coach, those risks can often become mistakes. And when you're relying on having a ball control offense, relying on your defense, you can't afford turnovers, which is why I believe Aiden O'Connell right now in Pierce's eyes is currently the leader for their starting quarterback job, because you know that even if Aiden O'Connell doesn't play that good, he's going to take care of the football and still give you a chance to win. Gardner Minshew, he could lose you the game, especially late, due to how reckless he tends to be at times. So I was really impressed with what I saw out of both quarterbacks. Both of them had really good showings. Gardner Minshew went 6-12, 117 passing yards, and 1 touchdown as well. But he's just too chaotic for me, if I was Antonio Pierce, to give him the leg up in this battle. Aiden O'Connell definitely is clearly the more composed of the two. He plays within structure more, and he just is way more consistent with his level of decision making and accuracy than what you see out of Gardner Minshew. Now, before we get up on it here, I got a few takeaways from the Washington Commanders and the New York Jets preseason game. We're going to start off with the Jets. So the Jets took down the Commanders in their preseason opener. And watching this thing for the first 3 quarters, because I didn't watch the 4th quarter, it's pretty evident that the Jets have a ton of depth at a lot of positions. I mean, Braylon Allen, their backup running back behind Breece Hall, I don't know what the hell his parents were feeding him as a baby that made him grow into this 6'2", 245-pound monster. But I remember watching him during his true freshman season at Wisconsin. This dude was only 17 years old, starting at running back in the Big Ten Conference, remind you, which is, for those of y'all who don't watch college football like that, the Big Ten is the AFC North of college football. Really physical, being hard-nosed, tough up front. And if you're 17 years old, you're not even 18 yet, fresh out of high school, and you're starting and you're built like this, yeah, you're going to become a problem. And he was averaging 9 yards per pop nearly every time he got the ball in this game. I mean, this dude has to be a factor in the Jets offense this year. I already know how good Breece Hall is, but you would be doing yourself a major disservice if you're Nathaniel Hackett and you keep this monster just chained up on the sideline, because this is potentially Derrick Henry 2.0, but times 50 the athleticism. Could you imagine being a defensive back and you got Braylon Allen running at you? He hits 22 miles per hour and you got to tackle this? I mean, oh my goodness, this is an immediate headache if you have to make any kinds of head-up collision with Braylon Allen. He's one of those dudes that you can't even risk trying to tackle him up high. You got no choice but to go ahead and chop them knees, just take them legs out, because this is a monster. This brother is scary. Do you not see how Braylon Allen looks with his pads on? This is like the Incredible Hulk meets the NFL at running back. Oh my goodness. I was like, who the hell is this number 0 at running back in? What the hell is this dude on? Is he on steroids? Like, the NFL might just have to drug test Braylon Allen, because something about him just doesn't seem human. I mean, how can you be this big running this damn fast? Now, not only is New York loaded at running back, but at wide receiver, they got more depth at that position than what I initially thought. Jason Brownlee, he called a touchdown on Emmanuel Forbes. We're going to get into him shortly. But Jason Brownlee was a undrafted rookie free agent last year. And he was balling out throughout training camp for New York. They were always talking about him on Hard Knocks. And I was really disappointed that we didn't really see too much of him once the regular season came around. Well, he could have a bigger role in this offense. He could potentially be their third, fourth best wide receiver in the rotation this year. Malachi Corley was a mid-round selection out of Western Kentucky. He made a couple of impressive plays. The thing with Malachi Corley is that I don't see him as a really good route runner. To me, he's more of a guy that makes a lot of his living of what he does after the catch, similar to Deebo Samuel, which was a common comp that many draft analysts and experts have for Malachi Corley. But to me, he doesn't have the explosiveness that Deebo has. He's not the athlete that Deebo is, but he made some impressive plays in this game. He's competing to be their starting slot receiver. And then you had a UFL guy in Brandon Smith who had a couple of big catches as well. He led the team in receiving yards. But what was really impressive about the Jets' depth is the talent that they have on the defensive line. You had a rookie named Leonard Taylor who went undrafted. I'm really familiar with this dude because I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. And you talk about one of the biggest disappointments in Miami recruiting history. Leonard Taylor was highly touted coming out of high school, sick athleticism, great size for a D lineman, and he never was really able to put it all together. Well, in this game, he was wreaking havoc on the Commanders' offensive line, man. I mean, he had one sack when he just absolutely blew it up, blew past everybody, immediately hit the quarterback. They also got Will McDonald, who was a first-round pick. I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago out of Iowa State, but he had a couple of impressive reps as well. The Jets have tons of depth. And after watching their preseason opener against Washington, I understand why so many people believe they have a top 10 roster. They don't have a top 10 roster from a talent standpoint, but from a talent and depth standpoint, they're more deeper at way more positions than what the majority of teams in the league are. There's not going to be teams that are 3 deep at running back, 4 or 5 deep at receiver, and also deep on the defensive line, which also helps out New York's defense because a key to being able to not get worn out throughout the NFL game is that you want to rotate guys in. You want to have multiple guys who can come in and be good situational players. Rather, if they're good against the run and you bring them in on 3rd and short or 4th and short plays when you need some run stoppers in there, or if you need good situational pass rushers, they got a good blend of depth at either or. Shout out to my guy Kate Rohn with the $4.99 donation. He says, "What's up Saturday night, JT Sports Live? Hope you do more post-game reaction shows. I appreciate the donation, my dude, and we definitely have more coming." My dude James Green says, "Hey JT, the Jets are not going anywhere this year, so they are going to be sellers at the trade deadline." So I got one more takeaway before I get up on out of here. So after watching the Washington Commanders preseason opener against the New York Jets, my biggest takeaway from this game is that I don't know how the hell they thought drafting Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez in last year's draft was a good idea. I mean, you look at Christian Gonzalez, 6'1", 205 pounds, freakish athlete with insane size at the cornerback position. And after how well he played his rookie season, he's already a top 10 cornerback in the eyes of many NFL executives. Meanwhile, you look at Emmanuel Forbes out there, and every time he's on the field, you can do nothing but just shake your head when this dude plays, man, because he got torched for a touchdown by the New York Jets wide receiver 5, which was Jason Brownlee. And it was really embarrassing because earlier during the game, he got one little incompletion. You ever play football and you're going up against a cornerback and he celebrates an incompletion where the quarterback just overthrew the ball and he did nothing at all and he thought that he did something. Yeah, that was Emmanuel Forbes. And I was looking at him when he was celebrating like, bro, what are you celebrating? You didn't do anything. It was just a bad ball. And then a couple of plays later, dude's getting beat for a touchdown. I see why the Commanders fired Ron Rivera in that previous regime, because you got to be a flaming idiot. If you look at how well Christian Gonzalez performed during the combine and how good he was coming out of Oregon with his measurables, and you just decide to draft a 2 pick over him and Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, every time I look at Emmanuel Forbes, I don't see an outside corner. He's more of a slot or a hybrid safety in my eyes, because for one, he struggles to get his head around and locate the football consistently. On that Jason Brownlee touchdown that he gave up, the dude didn't have his head turned around, and he was in really bad position to make a play on the ball. Plus, he easily gets out muscled for positioning. They say that he gained some weight. He's at 181 pounds now, but I don't know about that, because the way that he just gets bullied off the line is really embarrassing. And at this point, if you're Dan Quinn, to try to get the most out of this guy's career at this point, you just have to move him to slot. I really think he could have a decent career as a slot corner, because I don't think that he's just a bad coverage guy completely. I just think that with him being on the outside, he's going to be matched up against more bigger physical wide receivers. Can you imagine what Marvin Harrison Jr. could do to this dude, or DK Metcalf? You already saw how embarrassing he was against the Philadelphia Eagles when they went up against A.J. Brown last year. A.J. Brown made Emmanuel Forbes cry. He's just not built to be a boundary corner in the NFL. And the only way you can somewhat savage this man's career is by putting him in the slot or at safety. Maybe he could be better at safety. You know, he doesn't really have to be that great as a tackler if you got him mainly just playing single high and you want him to just be a coverage guy. He does have pretty good speed. He does have good change of direction, good hips, but man, his technique is not that good, and he just constantly gets beat. It's like anytime you see a wide receiver lined up, matched up against Emmanuel Forbes, you're running whoever offense on him. It's easy pickings. You got an all-you-can-eat buffet when you got a one-on-one matchup with Emmanuel Forbes, because he is not good, and I really can't believe they thought drafting him over Christian Gonzalez was a good idea. And Bill Belichick, when he was asked about Christian Gonzalez, he was shocked that he was on the board. He thought that there was no chance in hell the Commanders were going to pass on him. But they passed on Gonzalez, who's going to be a future All-Pro, by the way, for a guy who, at best, was no better than a projected second rounder. This is what happens when you have bad ownership and you have idiots making decisions when it comes to the NFL draft, because some people overthink it, and drafting Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez was really overthinking things, man. I got to get Ron Rivera on here. Somebody has to explain what they saw in Emmanuel Forbes to think that this dude was going to be better than Christian Gonzalez, man. That was an insane pick. That was really, really idiotic. Like, what the hell? Yeah, Jason Brownlee, He kind of did Commanders fans and that team a favor, further showing this dude shouldn't be on the field come regular season. And he played a good amount of this game, which, you know, if you're Dan Quinn, you should have him out there because he's a former first-round pick. He has a lot to prove. All he's proven is that the Commanders made one of the biggest draft mistakes in their franchise history, passing over Christian Gonzalez for this bum. This dude is a jabroni. He should not be starting, and he should not even be on the field anytime the first team defense is out there. He should be playing in the third, fourth quarter where they got all of the on-the-bubble guys who most likely are going to get cut or be on the practice squad. That's when Emmanuel Forbes should be on the field, because that's the only time he looks good. Because if you're getting beat by the New York Jets wide receiver 4, 5, 6, and you're a former first-round pick, you're embarrassing. that's it for this episode of JT Sports Live. Shout out to everybody that tuned in on X, YouTube. Hit that like button, share the stream, subscribe, follow, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content and when we go live. This isn't going to be the last time we end up doing these late night reactions. We're going to end up doing them throughout the college football season, regularly every single week, and we're going to do them Sunday night as well. And I didn't intend to go live tonight. I intended to do this stream tomorrow, but since I'm going to be going out, I just had to get it out the way. I still got to go back and watch the remainder of this Saints-Cardinals game so I can give you guys my thoughts on Spencer Rattler's debut. Bo Nix is going to be playing tomorrow as well. But remember that we aren't just a YouTube channel. We are a podcast. You can find this episode in audio format on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. Follow us on Instagram at JT Sports _ and on X at JT Sports __. I appreciate everybody that tuned in.